Hey there, this is Mike Robinson with BlackHawk Paramotor USA. Today, I would like to introduce you to the all-new BlackHawk Talon 190 2.0. You may ask, what makes it unique from any other paramotor on the market? Number one is reliability. We all know that temperature kills two-strokes. Most paramotor engines on the market today run too hot, particularly when you're using the smaller gliders that are being used today. A smaller glider means more RPM to maintain straight and level flight. A smaller glider means that the pilot will be on the throttle harder and longer for climb out. All of this combines for increased excessive heat that we would really rather not see. The companies are not spending the time to design a motor that gets rid of the heat. Another thing is altitude. The higher you are, the more horsepower it takes. Even at higher altitudes, your engine is going to run higher temperatures. Next, bigger guys. BlackHawk's average weight guy is 225 pounds. So, bigger loads, more throttle, more heat. The solution is really pretty easy. The hottest part of the motor is the combustion chamber. What is used to alleviate temperatures on an engine? Cooling fins. The bigger the cooling fins, the more heat will be drawn away from the working components of the engine and dispersed elsewhere. So, BlackHawk, rather than creating a hood or a bonnet to shovel air towards the cooling fins, elected to design an all-new cylinder head. This head is shaped like a fan. The cooling fins are like a fan. These fins are tapered. They're thicker at the base against the combustion chamber, and they thin out for approximately 3 inches. We've got roughly 6 times the cooling disbursement area, and when these fins, as I mentioned, are thinning out, the thinning part of the metal cools first and draws the hotter temperatures from the thicker part of the metal upwards and outward. This equates to approximately 50 to 70 degrees cooler running of an engine versus many of our competitors. Another feature that we elected to spend a lot of time with is the exhaust. If you design an exhaust properly, it will not crack. If you use the proper metals, the proper thickness of metals, it will not crack. We took a long, hard look at this and elected to go with something that was proven, and that's our double jointed exhaust. This exhaust has 2 joints and 6 bolts inside of the springs with aircraft grade lock nuts. No longer is there an issue with the spring breaking and going into your propeller. No longer do you have to use safety wire. No longer do you need to fill the spring with silicone. An exhaust is not an exhaust is not an exhaust. A 2-stroke tune pipe and the cylinder head porting are 2 of the most important things in developing a 2-stroke that makes evenly distributed power, and we're back to that old D word, durability. The exhaust in the Talon 190 has beautiful lines, and she pulls from the basement to the attic. In other words, she is smooth. This is almost like flying an electric paramotor. Would you like at some point to be one of those guys that are foot dragging across the lake? I know I enjoy it. It needs to make nice, smooth delivery of power throughout the RPM range. We know it's 26.5 horsepower, and we know with a 49-inch prop, we're getting 185 pounds of thrust. This motor truly has some kick. Some may ask why our competitors' cylinders are angled off to the side and the carburetor is angled upwards off the other side. The answer to that is pretty simple. It's cheaper to build that motor. Many other manufacturers do not have the ability to CNC. All of our cases and 90% of our components in our engines are CNC'd. What CNCing is a computer is used to cut the cases or to cut the other parts from solid billet, high-strength aluminum. This type of construction is much more precise. Every engine comes out identical, and it's 7 times stronger than conventional casting and 10 times stronger than some of the foam casting that's being used now in paramotor engines. It may be cheaper to manufacture it as such, but in my opinion, sometimes you spend the extra money. Another feature of the Talon is the upright vertical cylinder. That allows us to put the carb 90 degrees off to the side and subsequently not give us any related heat issues. In other words, when carburetors are angled upward, the heat rises, it heats the fuel, and it causes vapor lock issues, i.e. starting issues. Okay, so far we're doing pretty good. This Talon has a lot of great features, but there's more. The new Talon has a clutch, a very durable clutch. Need I say more? You know, here at BlackHawk, we really push the cross-country adventures. Don't fly around your field. Don't go out and make 3 or 4 turns and land. Get out and go somewhere. Be a pilot. Powered paragliding allows you to do just that. With that said, fuel mileage is important. And one thing we really worked at was to achieve the perfect pipe and porting combination in order to increase the fuel mileage. There's a lot of guys, as I mentioned, that weigh considerably more than 225 pounds. That leaves them out unless they're willing to carry extra fuel. So a goal we had with the Talon was to consider the horsepower, the thrust, but also to consider the fuel mileage. We needed to do everything that we could do to that motor to increase the fuel mileage to allow the bigger everyday Joes to follow us on these cross-country adventures. And we needed to run the engine on anything other than aviation fuel. We ship paramotors to places that certainly don't have aviation fuel, let alone good fuel. So I spent a lot of time porting this engine and polishing the ports and finding the right configuration where this motor would run on normal Supreme fuel and not aviation fuel. The new BlackHawk Talon 190 2.0 is certainly one of the coolest running, most powerful, most durable paramotors on the market today. The all-new Talon 190 is another example why BlackHawk continues to reinvent aviation.